Like, comment, and subscribe.
Once upon a time, in a quiet little cottage, lived a woman who longed for a child of her own. She cared for her garden, baked bread, and filled her days with kindness, but her heart felt incomplete. One day, she visited a wise old woman who gave her a mysterious seed. "Plant this, and you shall see a wonder," the old woman whispered. The woman planted the seed in a flower pot and cared for it tenderly. Soon, a beautiful tulip-like flower bloomed, its petals glowing like the morning sun. When the blossom opened, the woman gasped with joy. Inside sat the tiniest little girl she had ever seen. She was no bigger than a thumb, with delicate golden hair and bright sparkling eyes. "Oh, you are my little Thumbelina," the woman whispered, and from that day forward, the child became the joy of her life. Thumbelina slept in a polished walnut shell with rose-petal blankets and sailed across a bowl of water in a leaf boat with horsehair for oars. Birds and butterflies admired her tiny beauty, and she sang songs so sweet that even the crickets stopped chirping to listen. But Thumbelina's unusual size made her both special and vulnerable. She was small enough to hide inside a flower, but also small enough to be carried away by anyone who wished. The woman, though careful, could not protect Thumbelina from every danger. One summer night, when the moonlight filled the cottage, a toad hopped in through the window. She was a rough, green, muddy creature with greedy eyes. Upon seeing Thumbelina asleep in her walnut bed, she croaked, "What a perfect bride for my son! I'll take her away tonight." The toad grabbed Thumbelina's bed and leapt out into the darkness, unaware of the heartache she was about to cause. Thumbelina awoke with a start as her bed rocked and bounced. She peeked out and screamed when she saw murky water and lily pads around her. The toad had carried her to a pond deep in the forest. The mother toad placed Thumbelina on a large lily pad. "Here you will stay until I bring my son. Tomorrow you shall be his bride," she croaked, clapping her slimy hands. Then she splashed away to fetch her lazy son, who slept in the mud. Poor Thumbelina sat trembling on the lily pad, tears streaming down her cheeks. She did not want to marry a toad. She wanted to go home, to the kind woman who had loved her so dearly. The little fish swimming beneath the lily pad felt sorry for her. "Such a lovely girl does not belong to that toad," they whispered. With their tiny teeth, they nibbled the stem of the lily pad until it broke free. Gently, the current carried Thumbelina away down the stream. Her journey was not without danger. Water striders skated past, nearly tipping her over. Curious dragonflies buzzed above her head. But as the sun sparkled on the water, Thumbelina held on to hope. She drifted past meadows and willows, her heart pounding with both fear and excitement. Behind her, the mother toad and her son croaked angrily from the shore, but it was too late. Thumbelina was free. For now, as the lily pad floated into calmer waters, Thumbelina felt a bit safer. She admired the flowers leaning over the stream and even dipped her toes into the cool water. Suddenly, with a loud buzz, a huge beetle swooped down and plucked her from the lily pad. He carried her high into a tree, ignoring her cries. The beetle set Thumbelina on a leaf and inspected her. "What a strange-looking creature. Still, she might be fun to keep around," he declared. Soon, other beetles gathered to see the new arrival. They buzzed and clicked, laughing cruelly. "She has no feelers," one said. "Her waist is far too slim," mocked another. "And those smooth arms, how odd." Hurt by their words, Thumbelina felt smaller than ever. The beetle, embarrassed by his friend's teasing, decided she wasn't worth keeping after all. "Very well," he said, dropping her onto the ground. Thumbelina was alone once more. She wandered through tall grass that towered over her like a forest, but she did not give up. She found a soft bed inside a hollow flower and drank dew from the petals. Though lonely, she learned to be brave. Little did she know her journey was just beginning. Autumn leaves rustled as Thumbelina wandered through the tall grass. Nights grew colder and food became harder to find. Her little dress was thin, and though she wrapped herself in dry petals, she shivered. One frosty evening, nearly faint with hunger, she stumbled upon a tiny burrow in the ground. Peeking in, she saw a warm little home lined with soft straw. Inside sat a kindly field mouse, busy storing grains. "Oh my, a child in the cold," squeaked the mouse, startled at the sight of Thumbelina. "Come in, dear. You must be freezing." Gratefully, Thumbelina stepped inside. The mouse gave her a piece of grain and a bed of soft wool. "You may stay with me if you wish," she said kindly. "You must help with chores and tell me stories, for I love to be entertained." Thumbelina agreed happily. She told wonderful tales of her adventures, of flowers that opened like suns, of dragonflies dancing above rivers, and of her walnut shell cradle. The mouse listened, her eyes shining with wonder. All would have been well, but the field mouse had a friend, a rich, gloomy mole who lived underground. One day, she announced, "The mole will visit soon. He's wealthy and might make you his wife, Thumbelina. What a fine future that would be." Thumbelina's heart sank. The thought of living underground, away from the sun, the flowers, and the singing birds, filled her with dread. But she said nothing, for she was too polite to refuse the mouse's kindness. When the mole arrived, he squinted at Thumbelina with his small eyes. "She is delicate, though far too fond of the light," he grumbled. Still he began to plan. He wanted to marry Thumbelina and keep her in his dark tunnels forever. One day, while showing Thumbelina a new passage, the mole led her and the mouse to a tunnel where a poor swallow lay half buried in dirt, its wings trembling weakly. "Nonsense, bird," the mole muttered. "It must die soon anyway." But Thumbelina knelt beside the swallow, brushing away the dirt. She felt its tiny heartbeat. That night, while the mouse and mole slept, she crept back with soft leaves and drops of water, caring for the bird in secret. Slowly, the swallow regained its strength. "Thank you, little one," whispered the bird. "When spring comes, I will fly far away, and perhaps I can carry you with me." Thumbelina's eyes sparkled with hope. Winter dragged on, and Thumbelina's cheerful spirit dimmed. Though the field mouse cared for her, the talk of marriage to the mole never ceased. "You will be warm and well-fed underground," said the mouse. "What more could a girl want?" But Thumbelina longed for sunlight, flowers, and freedom. She could not bear the thought of never again feeling the breeze or hearing birdsong. At last the mole declared, "In the spring, Thumbelina shall become my bride. We will have a fine wedding underground." The mouse clapped her paws happily, but Thumbelina's heart ached. Spring finally arrived, melting the snow and filling the meadows with blossoms. Thumbelina snuck away to the tunnel where the swallow rested. Its feathers shone with health again, its wings strong and ready for flight. "Dear friend," said the swallow, "will you come with me? I will fly far beyond the meadows, over mountains and seas, to a land where the sun always shines." Tears filled Thumbelina's eyes. She wanted nothing more, but she could not abandon the field mouse who had sheltered her all winter. "I cannot," she whispered sadly. "She has been so kind to me." The swallow bowed its head. "As you wish, brave little one. But remember, you are not meant to live in darkness." With that, the bird soared into the sky, leaving Thumbelina behind. Soon after, the wedding day arrived. Thumbelina, pale and trembling, was dressed in scraps of cloth. The mole proudly led her toward his tunnel, ready to trap her in eternal darkness. But as they walked, Thumbelina saw the blue sky for perhaps the last time. She paused, lifting her arms toward the sun. "Goodbye, light," she whispered. Just then, a familiar shadow swept over her. The swallow had returned. With a joyous cry, Thumbelina leapt onto its back, and together they soared into the open sky, leaving the astonished mole and mouse behind. The wind rushed past Thumbelina's face as the swallow carried her higher and higher. Below, fields and forests spread like a green quilt, rivers glittered like silver ribbons, and mountains rose in the distance. Thumbelina laughed with joy, clutching the bird's feathers. For days they traveled. The swallow told her stories of faraway lands, deserts with golden sands, forests where the trees touch the clouds, and oceans that stretch forever. Thumbelina listened in wonder, feeling freer than ever before. At last, they reached a warm, sunny country where flowers bloomed everywhere. The swallow swooped down into a meadow bursting with blossoms of every color, red, pink, yellow, and blue. Each flower had its own fragrance, its own beauty. "Here is where you shall live," the swallow said gently, setting her down on a white flower. Thumbelina gasped in delight. Inside the blossom sat a tiny young man, no taller than she, with golden hair and shimmering wings like a fairy. "Welcome, beautiful maiden," he said kindly. "I am the prince of the flower folk. Will you stay with us and be my queen?" Thumbelina blushed, for she had never seen anyone so graceful and kind. Around her, other tiny people peeped out of blossoms, clapping their hands and smiling. The prince placed a delicate crown on Thumbelina's head and gave her wings like his own, shimmering and light as gossamer. For the first time, Thumbelina truly belonged. From that day on, Thumbelina lived among the flower folk, where everything was perfectly sized for her. She no longer struggled to find a bed or a home, for each blossom cradled her as if it had been made just for her. She danced in the petals, flew with her new wings beside butterflies, and sipped nectar with her friends. The prince, gentle and noble, adored her. "Never again will you be lonely or afraid," he promised. The swallow visited often, perching on a nearby branch. "See how far you have come, little one," he said proudly. Thumbelina smiled, remembering the long journey that had brought her here, from her walnut bed to the toad's pond, from the beetle's cruelty to the mole's dark tunnels. Now she was free, happy, and loved. The flower folk rejoiced at her kindness, and she became their queen, ruling with a gentle heart. Birds sang her songs, butterflies fluttered around her, and the meadows seemed brighter wherever she walked. And so, Thumbelina's tale became one of hope, that even the smallest, most delicate soul can overcome great hardships, find courage, and discover a place where they truly belong. The end.